Hi there, everyone. It's Harry and Lisa here. We thought we would just record a quick video, a bit of an update about where we are in the current situation and what's going on. And then also, of course, what we're doing to help you. So, we're going to read some of this because there's a lot to get through. We want to make sure, or we want to make sure we don't miss anything. So, in the light of the ever changing situation around COVID-19, we wanted to share with you what support and help there is available, both from us at Caseron and from the government. So, huge apologies for the general nature of this video, but we wanted to get something out to everybody, even though we've already spoken to many of you on an individual basis. So, Caseron support. From our perspective, it's business as usual. Harry, Tom, and I are now working from home and doing our bit to stem the spread of the virus. Now, we've always worked online, so remote working for us is nothing new. All team members have access to all of our systems remotely, and our telephone lines will all be open as usual. So, should you call, if you do ring and you go through to voicemail, please leave us a message and we will return your call. Obviously, we're taking a lot more calls than normal, trying to help people through this tricky patch. But just bear with us while we try and help everybody at the same time. So we're going to be working some odd hours. We might be a bit earlier in the morning, we might be a bit later in the evening, we might work weekends, but we'll do whatever we can to make sure that everybody is helped and gets all the support that they need.
Exactly. And all meetings going forward will be conducted via Skype or Zoom. To those clients who we usually talk through WhatsApp or Whereby, this will continue as normal. And Lisa has a Calendly account and will share a link in her footer. So if you want to talk to her directly, you can basically just book an appointment. And talking to several clients this week, it's clear the community is already experiencing cancelled orders, cancelled events,
Yeah.
contracts, supply chain issues, and some various other challenges with cash flow.
So what are we doing to help? So your accounts, your bookkeeping, your payroll will all be kept up to date as normal. From April, we're going to bring monthly payroll forward and run it from, or start prepping it between the 10th and the 15th where possible and appropriate, so that you have more notice of your payroll liabilities and your cash flow requirements. Now, we have an online membership called Profit Hackers. So the advice that we're going to give you is fluid and it's a moving target. So it's as up to date as we can give you at the moment, but obviously it changes every day. So we are going to create a private Facebook group called Profit Hackers, and it's going to be for all of our clients. Now, Profit Hackers is the online membership club that we were launching before this crisis began. So we have already created a number of masterclasses, tutorials, checklists, and crib sheets for our Profit Hacker members. And we're going to gift this to all of our clients this week, no matter how big or small you are. If you can make use of it, then that's great. So we're planning to record weekly profit hacking masterclasses to help support everybody through this crisis. So it might be how to cash flow, it might be how to cut costs, it might be how to look at your pricing, it might be, what's going on with current legislation and how to implement it this week, what's applicable to people. So we're also planning to go live in the group every day for at 10 a.m. for about 10 or 15 minutes. So it depends on, what's going on there, depends on the frequency. So our first objective every day is going to be to find out what information is most important going on at the moment and how to share that with you, our clients. And we're going to do that through Profit Hackers.
Yeah. And we will then issue any updates on government financial action as soon as we've actually digested it. So this will go to this group and it will also be followed up via email as well. Please be aware if you do choose to join Profit Hackers, we will discuss the crisis in general nature. So if you want specifics, we will discuss that outside of the group with you in Skype or Zoom, as mentioned before. We will not share confidential information in the group, so entirely private. And anyone that spams the group will be removed instantly without warning. Although we're all good eggs in here, so we don't hopefully don't have a problem.
we don't get general issues with spammers or anything like that.
No.
So, what actions can you take right now? Well, first of all, I would start by cancelling any business direct debits to HMRC. If you think you are going to be in any kind of financial difficulty over the coming months, cancel any direct debits that you have with HMRC and pay what you can afford when you can afford it, or negotiate arrangements to pay over a longer period of time with HMRC. They are being
They're
extremely
much more.
flexible, but I would say don't stop paying now if cash flow is not an issue for you, then just carry on as normal. But they really want to be able to support anybody who's going to be in financial difficulty. I've seen lots of accountants starting to tell everybody just not to pay anything, and I don't necessarily think that's the right approach. You're still going to owe it eventually. So, you know, we need to be sensible and we need to be cautionary with these, but we don't need to be avoiding paying our taxes at all. I do
Yeah.
think the legislation is going to change, so I think there will be a lot more payment holidays and potentially no tax or even reverse tax initiatives coming out in the coming months. So we need to keep an eye on all of that and everything that's going on.
Yep. And aside from that, it's also good to perform a client audit. So remember that some of your customers will still have the same problems they had last week amidst all what's going on, or at least a similar version of that problem. Then again, might even have new problems. Who knows? It's quite likely. But in most cases, they will hopefully still need you. So the question is, how can you serve them? How can you serve them better? How can you deliver your services remotely or perhaps with limited contact? So there really is a lot to take on board here. And just look at their needs, make sure you're filling their pain points, and actually you may still be able to serve them without too much disruption, hopefully.
You might even be able to predict an issue that's going to affect your clients that they may not even know that they have yet, and be there to preemptively help them resolve that issue and avoid it if possible.
Yeah.
Tip number 2, review your overheads. So if you're predicting cash flow difficulties, it's really sensible to review your overheads and pause any spending that you may feel may not be necessary at this time. So the first thing to do is categorize your expenses, both business and personal, into essential and nice to have. So the essential are those things that you absolutely must have to keep the lights on in your business, and the nice to haves are those that are helpful, are useful, help move things forward, but they're not absolutely necessary. Once you've got those numbers, you can better appraise your situation and we can help you with short-term cash flow forecasts. Now, the one thing that I will say is we are a nation of small businesses. So think also about the type of business that you are. So if, for example, you have a marketing contact, an IT developer, bookkeeper or an accountant, anything like that, a small business that you want to see survive, perhaps we can prioritize those cash flows. So I mean that sounds a bit flippant, but it's trying to protect the people that we like working with in the same way. So we need to protect wages, we need to protect small businesses, but things like utilities, taxes, and business rates can all wait. And I think in the coming weeks there'll be a lot more initiatives coming out from the government to help us with these bigger, more statutory type costs, so we can keep our staff going, we can keep our employees happy, and we can make sure that we can pay our personal bills and keep our small suppliers busy and keep them going.
Yeah. And then contact your business bank. So if you contact your own bank, if you're a dedicated manager, if you do have one, or your business call centre, it might be quite a busy line, but still definitely worth doing.
I'm hearing reports of people sometimes taking several hours to get through to them. Now, not all banks are asking you to ring them to get payment holidays or to have their interest rates frozen. In some cases, they're actively telling you not to. Barclays, for example, and what they're doing is then putting online access and online applications for people who need help during this crisis to be able to go and apply for those payment holidays. I rather suspect, to avoid the influx of calls, a lot of these mortgage companies and the lenders will automatically apply payment holidays. They won't necessarily expect you to call them because they simply can't cope with the volume of phone calls that are coming in.
Makes their job much harder. But actually, if you can get through, or if you can look at some of the online options, it may be that actually you can increase your overdraft limit. You can look at loans, asset finance, credit cards, or other forms of temporary finance. So it's definitely one to consider, because it's really going to help with cash flow. If you do think you are going to be in financial difficulty in the coming months, do ask for a freeze on interest rates and payment holidays. Now, this is one of the reasons we mentioned to cancel direct debits beforehand. If you do cancel the direct debit, you're in a bit more control. So you have that bit more time to decide how you're going to pay, how much you're going to pay, and when you're going to pay it. Whereas if you don't have them cancelled, there's less flexibility there.
Yeah, if you don't cancel it, then obviously just take it. And one of the things that we would recommend, if you're not paying taxes and you're not paying some of these more statutory bills, try not to spend the money. What we want you to do is put it to one side and stockpile the money so that you've got that there if you need it.
Yes.
It will be
Otherwise,
much
problems
easier.
will snowball.
Yeah, and ultimately, at the moment, these taxes are still due. They're still owed. Payroll is still owed. Our interest is still ultimately owable on loans and things like that. So it's delaying and spreading those payments, not necessarily not paying those payments at all.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of business funding, we have partnered with Capitalise to help you get access to 100 plus lenders. So if you think you're going to need help with funding in the next few months, let us know. We're not going to charge you for our time to help you apply for the funding, although if it's successful, and it might not be, but if it's successful, we do get a commission on those. But we'll do whatever we can to help you get the financial support that you need over the coming months. Now, we do have a list of potential funding sources. You can use Cap on Tap, the Funding Circle, iWOCA, NatWest has a Rapid Cash facility, and Satago. And some of those will go into more detail in the coming weeks about which ones might be more or less appropriate for your business.
Yeah. Lots there to digest.
Yes. Now, just taking a quick look at the government support. In the Budget 2020, the Chancellor announced that a coronavirus business interruption loan scheme, the CBILS, will temporarily replace the Enterprise Finance Guarantee, becoming available over the next few weeks. It will operate in a similar way to the EFG, and it will be provided by the British Business Bank, but it will offer more attractive loan terms for businesses and lenders with the aim of supporting people through this COVID-19 outbreak. So from next week, you should be able to walk into your local business bank and apply for a loan or an overdraft if you are experiencing financial difficulty. And I have to stress that this is really only applicable to people who are experiencing financial difficulty or expecting to experience financial difficulty.
Yeah. Good thing is the government will guarantee 80% of the loan to the lender. But the borrower is still responsible for repaying 100% of the debt. But loans will be offered at a favourable rate of interest, win-win, although this has not yet been defined. So it should just be more favourable. Haven't specified exactly what. But loans will be interest-free for the first 6 months. So that is a very good time frame.
Yeah, well, technically they're not interest-free, but the government's covering the interest for the first 6 months. So it's interest-free to us, but the lender will still get paid interest for the full term of the loan. It's not like it's going to be added on the end.
Yeah, it's a nice one, isn't it?
It is.
These loans are only available to companies that have insufficient security to meet a lender's normal requirement. So presumably, if you can get a loan from a high street bank, then you're expected to explore that route first. So that's just a little disclaimer on that one. And as with any loan, there will be criteria to be applied, and these have not been announced yet.
Yeah, I don't know quite what they are.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of things like that, I'm afraid. You're more likely to get a government-backed loan, though, but not guaranteed. So we suspect you'll still have to prove that you are a viable business and that you have a viable business.
Yeah.
But more information will be available in the coming days and the coming weeks. And of course, we will keep you updated with any changes as they do happen.
Yeah. Now, cash grants, probably the most welcome measure we think for the micro business is the announcement of cash grants to the smallest business of up to £10,000 each. Of course, there are going to be criteria that will need to be met to be able to access that grant. It's not quite the free money that everybody thinks that they can just go and tick a box and they'll get. But again, these criteria haven't been released yet. We're expecting this all to be released early next week. Now, one of the most likely criteria that we think will be there is that we expect that you will need to be a limited company, not a sole trader or a partnership. We also suspect that you'll need to prove that you have a viable business before the crisis that is only impacted by the crisis, and that you weren't up shit creek beforehand. If you were, that's a whole different issue. So this is one that we're going to be keeping a really close eye on.
It's a very interesting one, that one.
Yeah. Well,
Another.
it's a really interesting one because there's people are getting really, really excited about it, and everybody's expecting to get a full 10k. But I suspect it's going to be a gradient of 10k. I think there'll be, there'll be criteria, there'll be elements of it. They won't just give everybody a flat £10,000. That's just
it's going to be the upper limit. So it depends what they go for as more of a standard. But I guess still good. It's still a very good opportunity.
Again, I expect it will only be to pay certain costs, so salaries or rent or rates or whatever. It will be to cover certain things.
Yeah.
To keep the doors open.
Speaking of rates, actually, the government has announced that rates relief is available for retail, hospitality, and leisure centres. These apparently will be automatically applied by local councils, and we won't need to ring and apply for these. So if you are in any of these industries, it should just be automatic.
Yeah, if you Google your local rates district and look on the council websites, you'll find that most of them have been updated with what the current status is and what they're doing. And again, they actively encourage you not to ring them and apply for these, and say that they will determine, based on the status of the organisation, who is applicable for these rates, and they'll be automatically applied. So that would be interesting to see if that is done correctly. Again, there's some confusion around rates. The rates rural relief is very specific, and it helps people in rural environments. And we know about the retail, hospitality and leisure rates relief. There's a lot of musings that actually this belongs to everybody now, and I'm not sure that that's actually true. So we're going to keep a very close eye on that next week.
Lovely stuff. So the next section is about HMRC and time to pay. So HMRC have launched a helpline to help businesses concerned about paying their tax due to coronavirus, obviously. And again, this does appear to be very much a work in progress. However, you can find more details. We'll share the links. So if you do have any concerns about making payment to the tax authorities, please feel free to contact us. Feel free to contact them as far as you can get through. And they are supposed to be more lenient in this time.
Yeah. They're giving people much longer periods to pay, and stretching it over longer periods and allowing it to wait for a little while before it starts, which they would not normally have done. So that, and I think as we get further through this crisis and this becomes more of an issue, I think they're going to get more and more generous, or more helpful, cooperative with arrangements to pay, whereas typically they're quite difficult.
Yes.
So as the Chancellor said, it's anything, whatever it takes to keep businesses in business. So we should be interested to see quite how far they take this.
Yeah, because I think actually that's one of the easiest grants the government can give people, is to say, we're granting you more time. And then all of a sudden it frees up there.
My gut feel is that people are going to find this so difficult. Really, really small businesses are going to find it so difficult in the longer term. So I mean, we're right at the beginning at the moment, and that you think that in 2 or 3 months' time, when we've been in this sort of state of isolation for maybe 8, 9, 10 weeks, it's going to be a whole different situation to the one that we find ourselves in now. It's almost like we're at the top of the roller coaster and we're about to start that sort of rocky road down. So I think this is going to move quite significantly, and I think you're right. I rather suspect there's going to be a lot of tax breaks, tax cuts, or no taxes in certain areas.
Yeah.
So statutory sick pay. We've had a lot of queries on statutory sick pay this week and how to apply the 14-day SSP. So we know that the government have said that anybody who needs to go and put themselves into isolation will get paid from day one of their SSP. But remember, they need to be sick to be able to claim for it. So you can't just be isolated and work from home and then claim. You still need to be poorly. and you need to be poorly to the point that you can't work. That's the whole point of SSP. You don't just get paid for staying at home. So the refund is going to cover up to 2 weeks of SSP per eligible employee who has been off work because of COVID-19. Employers with less than 250 employees will be eligible, and this 14-day SSP is effective from the 13th of March. The size of the employer will be determined by the number of people they employed as of 28th of February. And then employers will be able to reclaim expenditure for any employee who's claimed SSP according to this new criteria as a result of COVID-19.
Now, employers should maintain records of staff absences, but employees will not need to provide a GP fit note. So there was originally rumours that they could call 111 and they could obviously get it from doctors. That's no longer required. So it's kind of a bit more reliant on trust.
Well, they don't need a fit note. What they now need is an isolation note. So from Friday the 20th of March, today, from this evening, those who have COVID-19 or are advised to self-isolate should be able to attain an isolation note, either by calling NHS 111 online and completing an online form rather than visiting a doctor. So I think, you have to go to NHS 111 online and complete the online form. Again, if we can find the link for that, we'll put it in the group. For COVID-19 cases, this replaces the usual need to provide a fit note after 7 days of absence. So the isolation notes will be accepted also by Job Centre Pluses as evidence of your inability to attend an interview.
Yeah, and the eligible period for the scheme will commence the day after the regulations on the extension of statutory sick pay to self-isolate comes into force. That was a bit of a mouthful.
Now,
wow,
the government will be working with employers over the coming months to set up a repayment mechanism for them as soon as possible. So at the moment, you have to pay your staff the SSP, but you can't get that back from HMRC just yet. But they're putting that in place. We don't know quite yet whether they will expect us to physically go online and reclaim the actual amount that's owed in SSP, or whether it will be a deduction in the same way that statutory maternity pay is against national insurance contributions. We do know that it's going to be incredibly difficult for payroll software providers to put all of those changes in place. So I wonder if it's actually just going to be something you can claim separately from the online help desk. So
I'm thinking,
we wait and see on that one. It will come out in the next sort of week or two, I suspect.
So yeah, I reckon they'll do it online. I'm thinking about it more and more. I think the cleanest way to do it.
I think so too, and I think it will be some of the other taxes. When you're applying for refunds, you have to apply for a refund online. It's not done through HMRC systems. So VAT is, for example, VAT, whether it's a payment or whether it's a refund, it's all done through HMRC online. SS or statutory, I'm just trying to think. No, the section 455 corporation tax, when you have to pay those penalties, that's something you have to physically apply for using an online form and send that in. So I suspect it will be in a similar way to that. Now, again, it's really unclear at the moment on how quickly these changes are going to be organised and how quickly the payroll software is going to catch up with the situation. So if you've got any particular queries on an individual case-by-case basis, then give us a call and we'll go through those with you. We appreciate that these are challenging and unprecedented times that we're all in, and we all face a little bit of uncertainty and constant change. So we'll just all pull together as a business, whatever the Chancellor, well, the Chancellor's already said, whatever it takes, he'll give us. Let's hope that's true, and that does filter down to even the smallest of us small businesses in the UK. Either way, Caseron are here to help you. So if you need a sounding board, some advice, a steer in the right direction, then please don't hesitate to get in touch. And also join our Profit Hackers group. We're going to be doing daily updates. We're going to be providing as much information as we possibly can to everybody in the group to try and make sure that we all survive this horrible crisis and come out the other end with better, leaner, meaner businesses. So that's it from us for now. It's just gone 5 on a Friday afternoon, so I'm going to get this shipped out and sent out to everybody and uploaded to YouTube. Have an amazing weekend so far as you possibly can. Be positive, stay safe, and let's get through this together.
Yep, let's do that.
Speak to you soon. Bye.